All right, we are live. Episode one. Episode one. Anybody in the chat, let me know. Go ahead and drop a comment for me. Give me a thumbs up. If you guys want to, do me a favor, go ahead and share it out. What we're going to go ahead and do is just kick this off tonight with just answering your guys' questions. It doesn't even have to be fish keeping related. So, whatever you want to drop in the comments, go ahead and put it. And let's see here. I did actually pull up a few comments from the Sergeant Tank YouTube channel. None of these are necessarily current, but yeah, we'll go ahead and cover those as well. So we're just going to let a few folks roll in here. Looks like we have one person watching. But if you guys can hear me all right, go ahead and drop it in the comments. Again, there is probably about a 20-second delay. Notifications are pretty much non-existent, as we all know, on the YouTubes and the interwebs. So we're just going to kind of bring this back old school. Anybody that's been following this channel for any period of time knows half the time we didn't even talk about fish keeping. We just hung out, had a good time, here to address any questions you guys may have. So it could be anywhere from do-it-yourself type of projects to business-related stuff to whatever it may be. If you want to do me a favor, so we can keep this momentum moving, I do plan on the consensus, just real quick, and then I'll finish up what I was saying. The general consensus, and we already determined a time, so it's going to be Wednesdays, roughly between 8 p.m. and 9 p.m. Central Daylight Time. That pretty much was the general consensus that worked for the majority of folks. You know, if you can't catch it live, then you're going to have to come back and watch it later. That doesn't mean I'm not going to eventually start putting out edited content again. But right now, the focus is just going to be trying to get a momentum going again. How you guys can help this channel to get that momentum back is just share it out. Let people know that we are back. And again, if you missed last week's live, I did address the fact that this channel will be moving in a different direction. However, stay with me. We've already lost 60 people since I put that video out last week. So the caveat to that is we will still be doing fish keeping related content at least once a month. So just bear with me. Again, I'm not saying I'm changing the channel name, anything like that. Once we get a momentum going, then we can start to elaborate a little bit more on the direction of the channel. So in this channel, you guys was built off from, if you've been around for many years, you know I built this essentially off from a podcast in live streaming format. That's how this channel was built. That's always been my style. I'm not a huge fan of edited content. I'm on the fly, right off the cuff, non-scripted type of individual. That's the way it's always been, and that's the way it's always going to be. So I will maybe introduce a edited version at some point in the future, but right now this is what I enjoy to do. Hopefully you guys enjoy it. You can just kick back, relax, and just kind of enjoy it. You know, oftentimes a lot of folks that watch us in the past would be at work because we did so many different live streams, sometimes multiple times throughout the day to try to catch different areas, you know, throughout the world as far as different time zones. We have Carlos in the chat. How you doing, buddy? Appreciate it very much. Great to see you, Carlos. We're going to have to get you on here, my man. We'll have to catch up. We'll have to figure that out. I'd love to have you on here. I'd love to get David on here. Some of the OGs that have been around for a very long time, and just kind of rehash some stuff. We have some stories to share. I think it will bring a lot of humor. And again, that's what I'm going to try to do on this channel, is to bring inspiration and humor. And also, everybody knows, as you can see here in the bottom, good old Jerome. I used to go on a lot of Rant Fest too, with good and a good sarcastic humor and that sort of stuff. We try to make fun out of it. Especially from a business standpoint. Trust me, I have a whole repertoire of ideas up here in the good old brain basket that I plan on sharing with you guys at some point in the future. Be quite comical. And right. So if you guys do have any comments, once again, just go ahead and put it in the chat and let me know. It doesn't necessarily have to be fish keeping related. just go ahead and put it there for me. But I'm going to address, just so we can kind of keep the momentum going. Anybody that knows me well enough, I just don't like any dead air. I like to keep things going. So some recent comments from, I've been re-releasing some content that I had in the past, kind of revamping a little bit, maybe retitling it. Obviously, from the actual video standpoint, nothing has changed. It's still there. And just says, really cool guy. Wish he was still around. Well, if you're hearing this, I'm still here. Man, I thought you vanished off the face of the planet. Good to see you're still kicking. I appreciate that. Let's see here. This was an old, essentially a comment, but one of the biggest viewed videos, several thousand views. It was covering, this was many years ago. I believe it was done in a live stream format. This is back on the YouTube channel, so you can check it out. I might just slowly keep kind of re-releasing some of that old content, so you guys can kind of regurgitate some of the information if you want to. But it was talking specifically about Elabiopsidae and shrimp. So if you want to check it out, I really appreciate it. There was a comment that was left a few months back regarding that. Just off from the thumbnail alone, really helped them differentiate between normal looking shrimp eggs, you know, under the swimmerettes, as far as from that point of view, versus Elabiopsidae. So you guys can definitely check it out if you would like. Another comment on here was just asking regarding feeding fry. This was dealing with Libidinochromis aurelius, which is your electric yellow lab. African cichlid, beautiful cichlid, easy one to breed. That one, I don't recall. That should be back on. If you guys want to also check that video out, you're more than welcome to. And don't leave now. Check it out later. But that was just a basic method as far as releasing the fry, them being a mouth brooding species. And so again, I appreciate that very much. Just a lot of, again, you guys, I'm just kind of scrolling back through some old comments. It's always nice to see these again. As you guys know, it's a couple-year hiatus, so I'm still getting caught up. Haven't even had a chance to even reply to any of these comments. Some of them are just statements, some of them are questions, and but it's just good to see that people are still engaged. And you guys know I always went very in depth. I try to bring a scientific approach into a practical approach when it came to fish keeping. I believe that's truly why people enjoy this. I just told it pretty much straight how it was from years of experience, hands-on practical approach. Anybody that knows as well, I study many different methods. I would at least do something for a year before I would even release it to the public, much of which I didn't even release to you guys, to the public. So maybe at some point in the future, I'll share more when it comes to simplification, if you're really looking at trying to take things to the next level, especially when it comes to breeding different rare type specimens of livestock. That's something that we can cover at some point in the future. I do plan on releasing maybe in an edited form. I don't have any editing software like I used to. I don't have Photoshop. I have none of that stuff anymore. If I still had it, then I would probably end up doing something along the lines of, I do have a talk that I used to share, well, various talks, but one of the ones is methodology to fish breeding, fish keeping in general, and really just kind of explain everything as far as through the years and how we developed pretty much from ground zero up multiple different fish rooms for success, going from a hobbyist level and being one of the #1 distributors within our market when it came to various livestock, from auctions to conventions to swap meets, and obviously online, and then local, even getting network and connections with local places that typically had a corporate contract. However, if you are well with negotiations and you can prove yourself in that manner, you can actually find your way into a door with some of those places as well. And that's, you guys, this is stuff I've all covered in the past. We got Depths Unknown. Howdy, I'm lurking. I appreciate it very much. And how you guys are going to keep the momentum rolling, definitely ask me any questions. I enjoy the interaction with you guys. And I would have to message you in private, brother. Everything going on. Share the stream. I appreciate it very much, Carlos. Yeah, definitely. I'll hit me up on Facebook at some point, maybe later this evening, tomorrow, something like that. And yeah, definitely like to catch up with you. So maybe we can get some folks that kind of disappeared off the planet like I did for a little bit there here on this channel. I would love to actually see this channel cross over into other niches as well, not just with fish keeping. I think bringing other like-minded individuals and in interest, and I'm at the point in my life where, you know, it's good to pursue other things as well outside of fish keeping. And as you guys are aware, just to reiterate, if you are just happen to lurk and this is the first time you're catching the channel, I've been on YouTube one of the many years back. One of the dweebs, the fish geeks, the fish nerds here on the YouTubes. And just the entire channel was geared around inspiration, education behind all aspects of freshwater fish keeping. As well as fish grading, aquarium clubs, fish clubs. A couple of years now, we've taken a hiatus due to personal reasons, and we are now back in a momentum. And we're going to be now each Wednesday, 8 p.m. Central Daylight Time to 9 p.m. Central Daylight Time, give or take. About an hour. We want to consistently keep this going unless something comes up. I put out a poll, and that was the overall consensus was between those essentially that time frame and the day of the week, which actually happened to kind of work out for me as well. So life and fish keeping sounds better because it just not cover fish keeping, but life and challenges of fish keeping and other hobbies sounds good. Let's see. All right, let's go through some other questions here. Let's see. Somebody, this is quite some time back. Do you work in a lab? We use the same kind of tape. They're probably just referring to painter's tape. So one of the things that I used to use a lot was just simply painter's tape. It's easy to stick on. You can use dry erase markers and that sort of stuff too and write it on your glass. You can even use Sharpie if you wanted to. Just use a dry erase marker and go over it and wipe right off like magic. But the easiest thing that I found was just using basic painter's tape. I wouldn't use masking tape, but actual like blue painter's tape, a good quality. It tends to stick on very easy. That way, especially, I mean, if you're only running 1 or 2 aquariums, may not be necessary. But when you're talking about like with us, when we ran almost 200 active systems, you have to stay consistent. You have to document. Just from a business standpoint, that's what we had to do. All right, let's see. Next question. Yeah, a lot of comments here again with the with that video I put out about Elevapsidae and shrimp. Let's see here. I know I see one here too I was going to address. It was regarding shrimp in general. And this can go for both Neocaridina and Caridina shrimp. I don't see the question here, but just kind of going off from that. Essentially what it was talking about was essentially fry, rearing, and raising. One of the tips and tricks that I would actually recommend doing is if you utilize a spawning mop and you have that spawning mop either suspended, meaning it's floating, or it's down on the bottom of your aquarium. In order to transfer, so creating that redundancy and that flow through within your fish room, it's very, I would use almost like a brine shrimp net, a very fine net. You're going to put it underneath the spawning mop. And this is once you get some active production within the system. and then you can carefully pick it up and then go ahead and transfer it. You can do that as well. It makes it very easy, especially if you're looking at rehoming, selling off some of your livestock. And it's just a very simplistic method to do. Marbles lining the bottom, I wouldn't go too crazy. Just do a single layer, not too much, where they can fall over. You, of course, can use rock piles and that sort of stuff. Again, this is simplifying it, keep it very cost effective, keep the tank bare bottom in that situation, and you'll develop over time enough microfauna and so forth between the spawning mops, between all the mycobacterium that's around the aquarium glass, on the marbles, and that will sustain for a period of time depending on the overall population within that system. It is a very effective method. Just use a spawning mop, or essentially I prefer box filters. You can use pea gravel. You can go to your local store, obtain yourself an inexpensive 40-50 pound bag of pea gravel. Just rinse it out really good. You don't have to do anything special with it. Stick a garden hose in it and let that thing run for like 30 minutes or so, and just pop a hole in the bottom, jam that hose right in the top, and let it just filter through. Get all of that sediment as much as you can off from there. What you want to look at it, obviously, when you're, and I'm not going to get too much on right now talking about hardness and overall alkalinity versus acidity and that sort of thing. But when you look at inert materials that aren't creating an overall effect within your ecosystem, then you are good to go. But it's it looks more natural. It's very effective. Throwing a piece of driftwood, and they'll go to town on that. You can use Indian almond leaves, catappa leaves. They provide good natural antibacterial properties. That's something I discussed a lot in the past as well. They can, keep in mind, as long as you maintain a balance, it can affect the overall acidity level within the system. So you got to be mindful of that. If you have too many in there and you go too crazy, it can actually be counterproductive, especially if you're talking about many of your Neocaridina specimens. All right, let's see. Another one here was I've done multiple articles and a lot of information. I spawned and distributed many of those, hundreds of Euorhesius wahrae, which is your Daisy's blue rice fish. Got videos out there as well. I did reintroduce that back here on the YouTube channel, so you can check that out later on if you would like. If you are interested, it's a very beautiful fish. Get it from a good reputable source. My initial stock came in many years, obviously, when I obtained them. I bought it through an auction, was actually an import. And then I just started off from there, and then pretty much started supplying our local market, and then all throughout the U.S. Let's see. Another one here is referring to, I don't believe I re-released this one yet. I do want to just kind of update the thumbnail on that. This was a very simplified version, and it kind of amazed me that I got as much feedback as what I did. When you think about it, so with that, it's referring, I know you guys can't see what I'm looking at here, so I'm trying to explain as best as I can, but I did a fish room air system for under $100 at that time. That's using just a basic diaphragm style pump. I would recommend using like a linear, like an Alita style system. It's just much more energy efficient. It's just quieter, but you can use a diaphragm. You can use multiple different things. Use just some common sense and basic engineering principles, I guess you would say, and laws of physics. So essentially what I did was just compress the air utilizing half-inch irrigation. Irrigation being designed for water, obviously. If it can hold water, it's going to be able to hold the air. Instead of using, 1.5 inch, 2-inch PVC, buying all those special fittings and going through all the work, I mean, I could run an entire fish room in about an hour and a half. And that's what I did with ours, and it's very cost effective. You can still, once I re-release this back at some point in the future, I don't know as far as like with the SKUs. At that time, I got everything basically from Menards besides the diaphragm pump, which you can get online. And again, at that time, and I know costs have gone up astronomically, so it probably is going to run you a bit more now. But I would still say it's going to be far more efficient. And you can still make it look very aesthetically pleasing as well. I ran our entire fish rooms, 4 different fish rooms, almost 100 different systems, multiple different size tanks from 2.5 gallon all the way up to stock tanks, and it was a very effective approach. You're talking the drop on those, many of those were 15 feet, 10 feet. So yeah, all right. Let's see, next question here. All right. Any questions here in the chat? Do not be shy. I encourage you. Guavalis, yes, absolutely. Those are also good for shrimp, as Carlos pointed out. I got to start being mindful of putting these comments back up on the screen. Yep, another good point. As soon as they're not exposed to any pesticides, copper-based products are going to be absolutely detrimental to a system with shrimp. So be be mindful of that for sure. I can't type. I'm so rusty. And my wife in the chat. Any helpful information in regards to quarantine new livestock? Yeah, that's a good point. We can definitely cover that as well. So regarding quarantine, as you guys may be aware, I am not a fan of medicating. So I don't do preventative maintenance when it comes to medications. I'm just not a fan of it. Never was a fan of it and never found success with it. One might argue you can be proactive rather than reactive, sure. However, when you start to over medicate or provide too much medication, I'm not going to go on the rants as far as I'm just going to tell you what I used to do. My best advice is when you obtain fish from an auction, from wherever it is that you're obtaining livestock, simply set up a system, monitor that system for 2 weeks, put your fish in that system, keep up with your normal routine, your normal maintenance based on what the requirements are of that livestock. You're going to monitor and look at the psychology of the fish. It's really that simple. I find that oftentimes, and one of the big things that I used to always gripe on and always kind of get after individuals for was I found that they're trying to go too far and do too much. When you make big swings from one thing to another and don't maintain consistency, that's when you're going to see detrimental effects throughout your entire fish room, within your population, within your colony. To me, it was about long-term thrivability and overall sustainability. And one of the key things to that was keeping it simple, stupid, the KISS method. It really, really is that simple. Fish keeping is not a challenging thing to do. Once you understand, and there's so much information out there, always do your due diligence, figure out what the livestock are, understand the reputation of the livestock for which you're receiving them. That's why I always recommend aquarium clubs, like-minded individuals, other fish keepers. But when it comes to overall quarantine, I would recommend, as most of us would, and introduce them. Don't just take that stock and put it into an existing system with already established colonies, or you're going to open potentially up for a negative thing that you don't want to see, and it's just not worth it. You'd be better off using a Tupperware container, something in order for 14 days, just monitor it. Identify any type of potential of parasitic issues, any type of disease issues. And within that time, you should be able to find out very quickly how they're eating, how they're interacting, and so forth. I agree with you. Medicating too many same antibiotics also makes fish bacterial fungal infections become more resistant long term. Absolutely. Exactly, Carlos. 100%. You eventually, again, through adaptation and conditioning, what I always try to do is really look at my livestock. I don't want weak livestock. I don't. I feel why I was so successful in all the years I did it, and especially shipping livestock and not having really any complaints from anybody when it came to the longevity of livestock, because we conditioned it and built it to a point where, and again, this takes years and years and years of generational offspring to get them to a point where I've conditioned and adapted them to be sustainable, not only within our systems, but also within other people's systems. That was always my mission, because if our customers weren't satisfied, I'm not satisfied. So the biggest thing is I find that individuals try to way overcomplicate and try to reinvent a wheel on something in a hobby that's been around for decades. You need, when you get out there enough and you start seeing long time, and again, for me, many years, but also I was friends, also looked up to, fish keepers that were well into 70s, 80s. When you see how they have been doing things for so many years, and you just learn. That's why you're going to have a completely different perspective if you just go on social media and just go along with whatever is happening at that time. You're going to find a much better situation when you actually sit down and you are involved in a fish club. You're going to learn a lot more. You're going to be able to interact a lot more. And then get also a hands-on, I feel. And this is just my own personal experience. And again, I have witnessed, I can't even tell you how many different fish rooms I've toured in my time, and witnessed, how they were doing their operations. At the end of the day, I just know for many years, again, when my heart and soul was put into it, anybody that went to our fish rooms knew. Again, I was very frugal when it came to, from a cost standpoint. I hate to see people unnecessarily waste money on things that you just don't need. And that to me ultimately will never change. But there is medications out there. I have shown things in the past. Those are no longer on there. I've even been asked years back, will you come in and talk to our club about, medications, about surgical procedures, that sort of stuff. And it's just not something I was ever going to dabble into, just because once you open that door, you end up sharing that type of information. So anybody that knows, I'm not going to tell you medications to use. I have been there, I've done that, and I've seen people not follow the method. It can be a little subjective too, because even if you follow the method, I need to be there. And unfortunately, I can't be there. So if I was there and actually seen your system, use my own tools, tested it out, my own knowledge, and tested it out, then I could go ahead at that point in time and recommend a treatment option. Let's see. Can never stop learning. No, every day we should all be striving to learn something. Well said on the method of use of medication. And again, I'm not saying, there definitely is medications that I know are very productive, very well. It's just not something I will ever share here on YouTube. I just refuse to do it. You guys are going to have to do your own due diligence and do your own research. I've been there, I've done that, um, and I'm not saying, you know, when I shared something before, somebody just ran off and ended up killing off their entire livestock. It's just I'm not gonna. I know how those situations can turn out. It's going to take you guys until you become familiar enough, you know, everybody learns at a different pace. Is that 1 year? Is it 2 years? Is it 5 years? You know, when you're doing it for 20 or 30 years, it's just kind of like it's second nature. So again, you have to build up to a point where you are comfortable. And really, what it comes down to is when you work with so many different species, so many different specimens between invertebrates, between various other livestock, pretty much multiple different type of freshwater aquatic organisms, you're going to find out and know very quickly um, what works and what don't work. And again, my experience may be different from somebody else's. As I always preach, if it's not broke, there's no need to fix it. Let's see here. Any good info on building fish immunity? I think really, Carlos, what it goes into is building overall immunity is kind of going back to what I was saying, is the overall conditioning and adaptation. And what I mean by that is overall consistency. If you are going to start, and this is why I got to give a little bit of context, it's not really a one-part answer. It's really multiple different integrations of all these different various things that are kind of intertwined into one. And that really comes out to the nerdy side of me and more the science aspect of it. Is when you look at when we started, you know, back in 2006, 2007, started right out of our laundry room. It was just a centralized filtration system that I custom built with a continuous drip system. It dripped over a continuous period of time, maintaining overall consistency. I was very productive, produced hundreds of Ancestris every month within that system. And again, this is stuff I've talked about multiple different times, so I'm not going to bore you guys with all of that. However, when you're trying to now, if something breaks out in that system, whether if it's ick, if it's any type of issue, you are now introducing it to the entire system. Then you learn out it's good until it's not okay, right? Everything is fine until it's no longer fine. To mitigate that, I went ahead and then started expanding and then going away from a centralized filtration setup. I did have a few various systems, individualized systems on a continuous drip, depending on what type of livestock I was working with. Most of the time, it's just unnecessary to do it. Really, for me, what was successful in overall immunity development was not overfeeding your fish. Most of the time, I would say 9 out of 10 times, especially with new fish keepers, they are, and we were all guilty of it, you are overfeeding your fish 9 out of 10 times. Fish don't need to be fed as much as what you think that they do. And again, this is a rant I'm not going to go on right now. However, I would actually steer on the under. You guys would be very surprised of how often I had to actually physically feed my systems. And this is all within my talk. This is something I can share more in depth later on. But I think it would surprise a lot of folks. So I was even thinking about writing a book, a whole series on pretty much, you know, kind of taking a lot of articles that are written over the years. Those you should be able to still probably find somewhere on the interwebs. I don't have a website for that anymore, so I'm sure if you Google it, you might be able to find them. But there were so many other ones I wanted to write. And you guys have to keep in mind when you're doing that full time, day in and day out for so many years, your heart and soul goes into it. And it was just something that I had a very deep passion about. And again, that's why I'm still talking with you guys about it, even though the channel will be shifting into a different direction. Some folks may not like it. You know, it is what it is. However, again, to reiterate, if you are just now listening, once a month. I still plan on doing discussions like this, but it's going to be a topic base ahead of time, and I'll pre-schedule the live stream. Right now, as we're just kind of kicking things off, it's kind of been fluctuating between 6 and 8 viewers concurrent. Right now, there's 6. At one point, we had 80, 100, concurrent viewers, something like that. I don't remember exactly. I would love to build it back up to that point. We will be turning the channel into a different direction as we kind of start getting more concurrent viewers. How again you can help us out is just share the content out. Let people know that Sergeant Tank is still here. I don't foresee really probably even changing the name. I don't plan on really starting a new channel. I would love you guys still get me. I think the best of both worlds with that, to be fair, is by doing once a month, still doing some sort of fish keeping related content, and devote that hour to fish keepers. The other three weeks out of the month, we're just going to focus on other things. $843, 856 viewers last time I remember. Sometimes fasting helps. Absolutely. Kind of ties in to the last week talking about the overall intermittent fasting. No different than, I find it very beneficial for one's health, especially from us as humans when it comes to mental health, physical health, to do intermittent fasting. So like for myself, I do 16 hours off, 8 hours on, very lean. And again, it's one of those things I may end up talking about. Share some stories from years back. I went from a very lean individual, very fit individual, very active individual to becoming disabled. And again, that story is out there on the internet from back in 2011. Up until that point, I was a phenom. Back in my younger years, very much active, put on a bunch of weight after I got married, and ended up dropping 70 pounds in 3 months. Straight dieting. And again, this goes back to my understanding of nutrition. And for every individual, and again, I just have to put a disclaimer on that, you need to check with your own primary care physician, your own dietitian, whatever the case might be. This is just coming from somebody who has practically done it, have helped others in the past, share with them different diet regimens. So why I kind of nerd out and carry that over to fish keeping, in a sense, it works. Let's see here. We need a good old fish fam reunion. Bring back some of the OGs. Not many know about overfeeding leads to fatty liver. Exactly. Yep. Yep. Keystone Clash in Pennsylvania. Won't be getting up there anytime soon. We are down in the deep south now. If anything, I'm going further south. It'd be Florida. Let's see. The reason we moved south from Michigan was purely just weather, obviously land, and that sort of, really just weather. Is what it came down to. Wife and I were done with snow, couldn't handle that anymore, and we weren't getting any younger, and we just had to make the move. So I loved it when I was younger. No more. All right, let's go back here, see if I can find some more questions. Finding a question. Let's see here. Man, these are going back years ago. Yeah, it's not showing all my comments. Let's see. Let's sort. Oh, Florida, you're going to be nerdy out if I'm around you. Bro, I want to come and visit you, man. For sure. For sure. Definitely need to make that happen at some point. I love Florida. All right, let's see. Do you still use a drip system on your tanks? Depths unknown. Just to reiterate again, we no longer maintain any systems. No more aquariums. I do not foresee it at any point getting back into fish keeping. We're just here to kind of, the knowledge is still there. I'm still here to share with you guys the knowledge that I've had. But let's play hypotheticals. If let's look at before we end up moving and the changes happen. To go off from that, no, I wasn't running any drip systems. And again, in the most simplified, in direct response, is due to the fact that you end up getting complacent, especially when you're running almost 200 systems. It's just not practical. It's counterproductive, in all honesty. When you're just starting out, sure, it can be great. If you're running one system, do it. They can be very, very beneficial. But because of what we were doing when it came to breeding, especially very sensitive livestock, it just isn't practical. When you're at that, don't be running drip systems. What kind of filtration do you use nowadays? Kind of goes right in with that. So what we were using up there is just simple box filters, using pea gravel, establish microbacterium. So from an established tank, you can quick jumpstart another tank instantly, just like that. Done it thousands of times. If you still don't feel comfortable doing it, do exactly that. Wait a week or two, check your overall water parameters, make sure your nitrates where it needs to be, check your TDS. It's pretty simple. But again, I mean, when you're in that mode of constantly resetting systems, you can literally take partial water from one system, introduce it into another. It's happening so quickly. You're taking a portion of that substrate, transfer it into a new system, a portion of that filtration media, transfer it into another system. You have now balanced everything else. Very, very simplistic. Just use basic pea gravel, like I was saying. Nothing special. Just rinse it really good. And yeah, let's see. House prices are dropping like crazy in Florida in some places. Man, we were looking at different places. We just couldn't find between, everything that kind of met our criteria. But hindsight's 2020, Carlos. I will say that. It is different, man. It's tough. I'm going to say that. It's tough. Coming from northern states, I'm a very abrasive individual. And whew, it is different. Trust me, I wish I could have just kind of more of that laid back personality. But when you're talking a very type A structured individual, it's tough. It is tough. But maybe someday. We definitely have contemplated. I love Florida. Anytime I've gone there, it's just, I don't know. It brings it's just a mental state for me. When you see palm trees and this is so polar opposites of the way I was when I was younger. I talk completely different. But I guess I'm just getting old, man. Maybe midlife crisis. Who knows? I'm running 30 plus tanks in my fish room. My biggest issue is blackbeard algae. Right on. Yeah, I wouldn't even worry about that too much, in all honesty. I know some folks would get kind of caught up. Me personally, I always enjoyed it. Shrimp love it. Um, just manually remove it. You can use, I know people are going to tell you, go use dump hydrogen peroxide in there, spray hydrogen peroxide, do all this crazy stuff. Let nature do its thing, honestly. That was just always my style, is as long as it's not causing any detriment to the system, everything else is in check. Why not? I mean, to me, I had some systems that looked phenomenal. I mean, I even had hair algae at one point that looked like Java moss. I mean, it just kind of just blanketed, and the way it kind of went up over my driftwood and that sort of stuff. I don't know. My eyes. That's why for me, like with saltwater, I've done saltwater before. For me, why saltwater never caught my attention, because of course they're all pretty and beautiful, and you have all this beautiful flashy color coral. To me, it just seems so unnatural. That's why I've always loved freshwater systems. And one of the things I used to ask years back, it was just kind of a funny question I used to ask here on the channel. If you had the option, it was something along the lines of, I'm paraphrasing what I said in the past. If you had the option of having $1 million in freshwater aquarium plants, $1 million in coral, you can't exchange it, you can't trade it, so no loopholes, you can't get money out of it. I would take the freshwater plants any day. Any day. It's just freshwater aquaria to me is just so much different. And again, it's all about aesthetics. It's just the way my eyes are appealed more to when I look out, especially if you're driving through the mountains. We live on a mountain and you enjoy nature. That's what I always tried to do, was bring the outside in. How can I bring nature from an outdoor environment into an indoor setting, from an aesthetics point of view, and really just simplify it. Let's see. Oh, Blackbeard algae is impressive. Laugh aloud. All right. Just use, let's see here. And peroxide method with low doses of excel depending on the system. Yeah, Carlos. I mean, and again, to each their own. Whatever works for you guys. And I always have encouraged you guys to treat each little big, what you know what I mean, each system as its own science project. If I took 50 of my systems side by side and measured the overall water chemistry using a lab, okay, yeah, of course we have TDS pens, pH pens, we have GH and KH testing, we can check all of these different water parameters, we can make ourselves crazy and go nuts, spend an hour and a half to try to nerd out. We all did it. We're all guilty of it when you first start. Rather than just kind of kicking back and just enjoying it. Don't overthink it. Just understand what it is. Go slow with it. Don't go crazy. That's one recommendation I would have. Don't go from one system to 30, one system to 100. Just take it nice and slow. Enjoy that system. I would recommend, honestly, Neocaridina shrimp is what I would say. Starting out, get shrimp. That's what reintroduced me back when shrimp popularity was starting to come into the U.S., especially within our market. It was just cherry shrimp. That was it. Caridina wasn't even a thing at that time. And then just understanding the beauty, seeing those guys repopulate, and now if I got another system, that would be it right there. It would be some type of Neocaridina system. I miss that one the most. Honestly, it was the most enjoyable. It was the most relaxing. It was the easiest one to, of course, take care of. They repopulate like crazy. Just go slow with it. Test different methods out as you start getting more comfortable. Treat each little system as its own science project. And that's what I would encourage anybody to do. That's how you're going to learn, by hands-on practical approach. By Carlos, myself, anybody here that's been doing it for any period of time, sharing something with you. It's up to each and every one of us to actually apply it and try out different stuff. Obviously, if you know it's going to cause some direct negative effect, then don't do it. But you know what I'm saying. The reason I don't use products like that is because it's just a band-aid, but doesn't get to the root cause. Yep, I agree with you. Let's see. And don't over water change. If you do water change, a good vacuum dead spots. Yep, absolutely. So when you think about aerobic and anaerobic bacteria, essentially is what Carlos is talking about. So part of my talk to kind of tie in with that, one of the best natural products I found, which covers, when you think about gram-negative bacteria. So this is the nerdy side of Jerome coming out now. Gram-negative bacteria is essentially a lot of the different bacteriums that happen on surfaces, on various surfaces, even within our own home aquaria. And a lot of you can just do simple basic research now when we have it right at our fingertips, essentially, and look into different essentially different viral bacteriums that happen even just naturally, that are occurring through seasonal flus, colds, so on and so forth. You're going to find that many of those is caused by gram-negative bacteria. Good old white distilled vinegar. My wife's still listening. I know that she's probably cracking up. I preach on that all the time. I use that all the time. You don't need to dilute it, put it in a spray bottle. That's how I clean and sanitize stuff. And I'm telling you, it worked. Not only from the standpoint of mitigating and reducing what I noticed, even within our own household, you don't have to get all these expensive products. It's a very cost-effective way. Let's see. And then when you're talking about aerobic and anaerobic bacteria, going off from what Carlos was saying, when you're thinking about dead spots, so look at a system, especially, I mean, if you're only talking like a 5-gallon system, something like that, I would hope most of you guys are keeping larger systems. Now, when you're seasoned in breeding and doing that sort of stuff, your familiarity, you'll start to get more familiar, and then you can start getting away with doing smaller systems. When you're starting out, try to, if you want to keep a big aquarium, don't start out with a 55. Okay, go with a 75 or bigger. Just save up for it, invest into it. You will not regret it later on. A lot of individuals, what they do is they start out with a 10, as many of us did. You move up to a 20. You might even start out at 5.5, and then eventually, then this is where multiple tank syndrome comes in. And then you end up getting complacent. We all end up getting to that point. You end up getting overwhelmed. You're not knowing what to do. And again, many of us here obviously are aware of that and have gone through it. So if you're looking at like a larger system, is one thing I would explain is look at that system in zones. Break it up into quadrants. So you have 1, 2, 3, and 4. When you look at that zone in that system, are you getting the proper turnover rate? Turnover rate can happen by means of the actual filtration itself. Okay, so if you have, let's say, a 55-gallon tank, more linear, and of course, not very much depth, but you do have some height on it, but more linear, is when you look at the quadrant, so 1, 2, 3, and 4, is you're going to have, let's say, a box. And again, I'm just going to continue preaching box filter. I would recommend getting rid of the sponge filters, but to each their own. Do a simple corner box filter. You can have one on either end and then one in the middle. That will then, and then depending on the livestock that you have in there, I'm going to tie that in here as well. So when you have bottom, mid, and top dwelling species, so if you have a community type system, so you have bottom dwelling, mid, and then top dwelling specimens of livestock, they will actually help as they're moving throughout the system create that overall turnover. And what I mean by turnover is how much are they keeping that water essentially circulating in a natural fashion. So you have a natural fashion, and then you have that mechanical. So let's look at it as a physical functionality by means of the fish, and then you have a mechanical functionality by means of the actual filtration in a mechanical sense. Hopefully that kind of makes sense. Let's see. Pool filter is good, but it is high in silicates. Yes, it can be. You got to be careful with that for sure. But yeah, good point there. It's minerals in the sand degrades and absorbed by certain plants. Yep. The wife said, you even low key said white distilled vinegar. I'm not going to say the word here because, yeah, I'll reserve my thoughts on all of that. But all right. Phosphate high in a high silicate saturated tank bring black bearded algae and nitrates above 5 parts per million would trigger black beard algae. Let's look at some questions here. All right. Question. So there was a statement that was made here on my Aphysemia australe, tomato. And what that was your leer tail killifish, a very beautiful specimen. Did several videos. I bred multiple different species of non-annual as well as annual killifish, but more so non-annual killifish. And one of the comments that was made, I did re-release it, but I believe I've retitled it to clarify the fact is that you have in here essentially they're just trying to make a point. You can put eggs in a small container on top of peat moss. So what I would recommend doing in what they're referring to is if you guys are ever get into killifish, this is getting now super nerdy, is you have essentially I personally wouldn't use peat because it can essentially acidify. I would again keep it as neutral as possible. I would actually use coconut husk, and that's how I end up putting. Essentially, if you can imagine putting all these tiny little eggs in these little containers versus the method I'll get here into a second, and then you, depending on the overall incubation time frame, depending on that specimen, could be 21, 14 days, 28 days. It just varies. You got to really understand what species it is that you're working with. Once you put them in there, essentially the theory is once you fill that up with water, then they'll all hatch at the same time. So you're not getting a bunch of different days of hatching. If you really want to simplify it, get yourself a pair, put in a bunch of spawning mops, keep that thing as natural as possible, and let them do their thing. Go at night when it's dark, take a little flashlight, you'll see a bunch of fry, take those killifish out, put them in another system, and repeat. It's really that simple. You don't even have to go through and deal with even pulling the eggs. How I bred many of the Emperor Tetra was exactly in that fashion. Again, that was a video I don't even think I released. I don't know too many people that even breed Emperor Tetras. I did it very successfully. Blind cave tetras, many different characins. Did the same thing with cyprinids. And again, these are things, you guys, that I'm just throwing out. I'm sure a lot of this information, since I don't actively practice it anymore, I'm not even thinking about, but I bet if somebody puts a comment, that's why I encourage you guys, if you're watching this later on, actually get to this point, give it a thumbs up so I know, and let me know in the comments a question that I can answer in a future fish keeping talk here on the channel, and I will definitely address it. So a lot of this stuff, unless you guys are asking it or even mentioning it, making a statement, I probably have just kind of out of sight, out of mind. But again, it's like riding a bike. All right. Quarantine plants is a good method to avoid introducing blackbeard algae, even one cell. Absolutely, Carlos. It's a very good point to make. And when you're that question going back at the beginning, talking about quarantine, it's a very valid point because you want to not only quarantine your actual livestock from fish and invertebrates and that sort of stuff, but also quarantine your plants. Make sure you know, plants can be a little bit more challenging. Of course, you can use a you could essentially, you know, the theory is if you take a fish, you know, one that, hey, if I happen to lose this fish, whatever, you end up putting in with the plants. There's any type of parasites that end up happening, any type of bacterial issues that end up happening, potentially that were introduced. And I've seen it happen, even from sources that I trust. I end up trusting those sources. That's why I'm kind of preaching this stuff to you guys, is that I did the same thing, didn't practice what I preach. I trusted the source. I mean, they were friends of mine, and I end up introducing exactly that and end up killing off my livestock. So then I stopped after that. I'm like, I don't care who you are, unless it's my stuff that I know. Just simplify it, mitigate it altogether, and just simply quarantine. Sorry, my typing is no, you're good, man. I'm old and haven't practiced typing to people. Hey, you got to get your feet wet, man. We're getting back in there. We're getting back in there. All right, we're on an hour, you guys. 5 more minutes, 1 or 2 more questions, and let's wrap up the show and kick it off next week with episode 2. Next week we need to come up with this. I want you guys to kind of just drive this thing right now. You know, I'm just kind of hanging out here in the back seat. I would love you guys to leave comments. If you follow me over on the Facebook, I left it up there, the old Sergeant Tank business page, in the Sergeant Tank. It's a private group, Sergeant Tank Facebook page. I would encourage you guys. You should be able to leave even an anonymous comment. If you don't feel comfortable having your name out there, I don't need to. Just let me know. You know, if you want me to answer something, you're like, hey, I just don't feel comfortable having my name. Just please let me know that. Obviously, if you do it here on the YouTube or on the interwebs, unless you have like a essentially a discrete name. But we're all here together. Yeah, so I would love to hear more of those questions. I would try to come up with some topic base for next week and get this scheduled over the weekend. Probably Saturday, Sunday. Try to come up with something by then and get it pre-scheduled, and then I'll share it out. I don't do really anything right now with the good old Instagrams. Maybe at some point in the future, but right now I'm just utilizing Facebook, the best way to get any communication. And I can tell either people are not getting notifications or they're just not following, especially over on Facebook. You might have liked the page, but maybe you're not following it, or your notifications most likely are not on. I would encourage notifications to be on, especially here on the good old YouTubes. Put on all notifications. So you can actually get those notifications when they're coming out. And the best way, I'm telling you right now, that I can communicate with you guys, and what I'm gonna do, and what's easy for me to do, is through the YouTube community tab or post or whatever they call it now. Way back in the day, we could actually message each other back and forth on YouTube, but you know, they changed that. Cosman says, Dog Sergeant is back. You're getting me, but not fish keeping. Hold on before you run off like the other 60 subscribers did. Literally lost 60 in the last 28 days after I'd done some updates. But hey, it's all right. It's okay. We're going to build a new following. All right. So this is the thing, if you guys are just listening before we wrap things up. Once a month, okay, this is considered once right now. And once we get some momentum going, I'm going to plan on doing once every 4 weeks. I want to keep a consistent, less family stuff, and that comes up. You know, you guys know how it goes. Might have to switch it up throughout the week, but right now I'm going to try to consistent schedule, Wednesdays from 8 p.m. Central Daylight Time to 9 p.m., give or take, Central Daylight Time. Try to keep it about an hour. And enjoy your families on the weekends. We might have a spontaneous live or something like that. If we get back into doing like any type of collaborative content, then of course it might just throw one in there throughout the week, maybe on a weekend. Right now, Wednesdays each week. Okay, this is going to keep me, you guys got to keep me accountable too. Okay, blow up the comments. Let me know, You know, if you don't see me, hold me accountable. Be like, hey, you missed this week. You better be back next. And let me know any questions that you guys may have. Okay, it could be business related. It could be do-it-yourself stuff. It could be trades related stuff. I can talk about a number of different things. Sports wise, I'm not going to talk about it unless it's arm wrestling. That's it. I used to be more into other sports. Not my thing. We can talk about it. And I enjoy that open dialogue. Let's bring it back. This is how I started the channel. Anybody that's been following long enough, remember those late night live streams, different time. Many of the times we're just hanging out like this and not even talking about fish. And then as we get kind of momentum going, then we'll kind of reintroduce and kind of segue into some various type of content. I'm not sure exactly what that's even going to look like yet. Okay, I don't even know yet. Let's just let this momentum roll. And I want to enjoy this process. Okay, but we need enough individuals to show up to make it worthwhile for everyone in the end. So let's see. Jeremy is back like, oh, Bonnie, sorry, Kate, for mentioning Bonnie. Oh, boy. Carlos, if you still talk with David, man, I tried reaching out to him a few months ago. I lost everybody's contact. If you still have his contact, will you do me a favor? Can you have him get a hold of me either through, I don't think he's on Facebook, but maybe through Instagram. Give him my number. Have him text me, and I would love to get him on if he wants some time. And it would be fun because him and I, even getting you on here, all three of us, and sharing that story, I think would be awesome to set that up ahead of time. I would love to do that. I would be honored to do that. And we can do that sometime in the future. I think it would be hilarious for people, because when you get David, you get you and myself on here, and we're rehashing out that whole situation and everything that happened. Anybody that's new is going to have no idea what we're even talking about. But anybody that's been around long enough is going to know. And I would be honored to do that. And it would be fun to do it. Remember the days with David putting his phone in the freezer so it wouldn't overheat? Man, those were the days. Let's see. I appreciate it. No, I can't even leave you guys. Do we want an encore? Do we want to keep this thing rolling for a little bit? I can keep it rolling for a little bit. I just figured everybody's attention span after an hour, unless it's just me. It's 9:14 p.m. where I'm at, so it's past my bedtime. But we can keep her going. I enjoy hanging out with you guys. You want to keep the momentum rolling? We can hang out for a little bit longer. Bonnie is going down or belly up. Laugh aloud. Yeah. Let's see. Anytime everyone thought I brought drugs and fish food. Oh my goodness, man. Oh, we could that whole story. That whole story. Did I have that on live? Or was that, I'm trying to think. I'll have to go back and look. If I had that on live, that would be funny. Actually pull up that video. I don't were we live? When you came in, I was hacking up a lung. I'm pretty sure I had pneumonia during that time. But I'm telling you, man, that 2017 going to Florida with our family trip was by far the most memorable trip that I ever had. And it was just, I mean, I was sick as a dog. Like, I'm pretty sure I had pneumonia. And didn't let it stop me. I didn't let it slow me down. Like, it just, that whole live stream, I'm pretty sure I was coughing like crazy. And Oh, that's funny. I still have it. It's not on it's not public anymore on the YouTubes, but I could definitely pull that up. Yeah, it was live. Yeah. Would you guys find it entertaining? Like, I want to bring some entertainment value to you guys. Like, this is my personality. I like to get people to laugh, get out of your shell a little bit. It's good for me because I'm about as square mode as they come. And so to be able to get you guys and bring you guys a little bit of humor and laughter, I think it's fun. It's good for everybody. But I was thinking about maybe even reacting to some of my old videos. I don't even know if that would even be comical or not. Some of my old lives I did goofy stuff on, and maybe some of those older videos we can just tear the you know what out of it, um, and just make fun of it because I would. I love you know just making fun of myself in that way. I think it's hilarious. After that, Bonnie spook out and jump. Yeah, you know who came to the rescue. I kind of feel like I need to have a tattoo somewhere with Bonnie on it. You know, I think it's only appropriate. Imagine chat 3 guys trying to move a tank after life. I wasn't trying to move. Yeah. Okay. That was you all. David's over here with a 125. If you guys can imagine. Okay. So we understand when you think about volume of water. So there's essentially approximately 8 3/4 pounds per gallon of water. That doesn't include the substrate, the tank itself, the stand, whatever else is in it. Bonnie, you probably weigh 450 pounds. Everything in that system. Okay. You got David over here getting ready like freaking Goliath trying to move that thing. All right. And wasn't happening. All right. So I had to go in. If you guys can imagine, I'm giving you kind of a little bit of a teaser. All right. A little bit of a trailer here if we end up sharing this. This was not on live. So this ended up all happening after we end up cutting that live stream. And I just went in, swooped her up, brought her in nice and close. David, just the look on his face was comical. He's like, "How'd you do that? How'd you do that?" Yeah, and I think I probably said something along the lines of, "You don't hold your fish." Was that just me? I don't know. I like to pet my fish and hold them. I guess I was just a weirdo, maybe. Maybe that would. And yeah, returned it to the system, and she did great. So absolutely comical. That by far has to be one of the most entertaining stories I remember. The Bonnie lore is deep. Anybody that's OG knows when they hear Jerome, okay, and Bonnie, they know. They know. While you guys are in the chat, since we're going to keep it rolling, we're going to look at some other questions here. Let's see. All right. A lot of ones on the Elabiopsidae. Just encourage you guys to check it out. It should. Did I re-release it? I don't know. Maybe I didn't. If I didn't, I'll have to. You know, it was. I think I ended up taking that one down. Oh, you're making me sick. You're making me sick. Can't handle it. You're moving the camera too much. You know what? I'm just trying to bring the information to you. Okay. It's called Knobs. If you don't like it, click on it. I think that was the majority of it. Of course, people liked it. Probably has like 30,000 views or something on that video. I can't remember. And some of them were like, "Yeah, you're making me sick. The information is good, but you're making me sick." It's like, so, all right. And then I look back and I'm like, how are you serious right now? Have you watched any freaking YouTubers out there like panning all over the place like they're freaking Jedi. Like what is that game? The Fruit Ninja. That's what it reminds me of. It's like pan here, jump cut here, jump cut here, jump cut here. Meanwhile, you have this nerdy dude in a freaking fish room that's just trying to show the difference between Elbaopsidae and what a normal shrimp with eggs in their swim rest look like, you know. Anyway. All right. And let's see. Oh, oh man, this hits home. Rest in peace, Aquarium Cop. Anybody that was around long enough. I just seen an old comment from him. Real good dude. Real good dude. So let's see. Man, lot of names. Some I don't recall. Some I do. Just kind of scanning through you guys. These are just some old comments. Just kind of looking back and see if I can pull up anything. Face is funny. He was like a kid on. He was like a kid on Christmas. Rib Graham Cobb and Akash, never forget. Yep, I remember doing a video. We're actually at the zoo when I got the information about Akash. Let's see. Can't tell if that's my chickens. We got chickens out behind the shop. I was trying to listen, but we're out in the country, so don't know. I mean, it could have a timber rattlesnake, could have a copperhead, could have a rat snake, could be an anole, could be a gator. Who knows? Let's see. Could be a bear. All right. Let's see here. Dude, any other questions? If any chat going through depression, we know. Yeah, it's always a good point to make. Thank you, Carlos. I mean, again, anybody that knows the journey here with Sergeant Tank, you know that I really try to bring the therapeutic aspect. Again, this is always my just corny behavior. I'm as real as you get. What you see here on camera, anybody that's met me in person knows. If I'm having a bad day, you're gonna know it. If I'm gonna have an okay day, you're gonna know it. I don't fake it to make it. I'm very transparent, probably over transparent. Abrasive, speak my mind, and you know it is what it is. So, and I would encourage anybody else to be that way. It's just always been my nature. But when that being said, being an empathetic individual and understanding when people go through hard times, I definitely, again, I've shared with you guys on multiple different occasions. I can definitely relate, and that is one of the reasons why I really want to bring this back, to ultimately encourage and uplift. If I can do anything here, as far as if you want to call it legacy, whatever you want to call it, is to show that you know we all have a purpose. Trust me, I struggle day in and day out, and I got no problem sharing that at all. You know, it's not less manly, whatever you want to call it. And you know, that's the reality of it. So, all right. Come on, y'all. You got to have some questions. Some questions. Keep this momentum rolling. I'm just scrolling here. That's all I'm doing. We're well beyond the hour now. We're an hour and 20. You know, people are watching. They want to hang out. I don't mind keeping the momentum going. Share it out. Give it a like. Let let me know. I mean, that's how you can help. Hopefully, at some point, we can get this monetized again. I will at some point get into other business adventures with you guys and share what's been happening. But I want to get some more momentum rolling here on the channel. And don't worry, I'm not going to be pushing sales and all that stuff on you guys. I would hope that you guys would support what it is that we're doing. But again, it's never been in my nature. I'm gonna be transparent with you guys and share stuff. Hey, if you know anybody though, you know, this sponsor. But let's get a few more views to make that justifiable. But yeah. All right. Let's see. I'm seeing some comments here. So I had a lot of videos when it came to culturing of live foods. So this one here is regarding culturing of vinegar eels. It's a again, this one has several thousand views on it as well. That one I believe should be back here on the YouTubes. I will check it out after I'm done with the live, and just like I said, you guys is kind of going through and revamping, kind of retitling some of those, and trying to kind of just put the ones out there that I felt brought enough. What do you want to say? More the benefit as far as information. And I'm seeing some medication questions. Like I said a while ago, I won't be addressing any medication stuff on here. I'm just not gonna do it. Let's see. There was one here, a video I did, tips and tricks as far as fish photography. That is something, obviously, when you're running a fish breeding business and you have to put things on your website, it's all about proper angles, making sure you're diluting a lot of the, everything around. Let's call it the noise, the light around you, and there's just different ways to do it. So that was a fun one I did. I mean, there's so many. I did re-release the one with Corey and Jimmy. This is several years back, having them in town. That's back up there to share with you all if you guys want to check it out. Let's see. All right. Let's see here. Any other questions? I missed a question. Who is your fave YouTube and anyone in the chat? Well, the wife already knows. I've been a long time follower of Roman Atwood by far. Love to see that he's back. He don't need any recognition at all. I mean, he's the GOAT when it comes to essentially. It's awesome to see what he's doing now. And then, of course, other niches, big. Anybody that knows me personally knows I'm big. Anybody that remembers me way back in school days, used to compete all throughout school in arm wrestling. And I would love to get back into it, but I'm just dealing with thoracic outlet issues. Anybody that understands, I have a number of different neuropathic issues. Hopefully, I had a call today with insurance and stuff. I'm going to try to get things moving at some point here in the near future, just trying to logistically work everything out. I need to get some workup done. I'm not having any more surgeries. What I would have to have done for my thoracic outlet, it would have to be cut wide open from here all the way down. I pretty much got up and walked out when they said that. I've already been through multiple different surgeries, multiple back surgeries, neurostimulator in my epidural space. Doesn't do a damn bit of good for me. This is all the kind of stuff that I can talk about with you guys. Again, may end up being stuff at some point in the future. I mean, I can talk for days on a number of different subjects, especially when it comes to health, physical stuff, when it comes to mental health, when it comes to physical related issues. I've been there, I've done it, I lived it for many, many years. Had I listened to the doctors many years ago, I'd be still in a damn power chair. So they just wanted to keep dragging me through the mud, dragging me through the dirt. Let's try this thing. Let's put in a pain pump. Let's do this. Let's do that. Keep me just medicated on all these different medications. And anybody is going through it. And I know people over the years have reached out, and you know, I'm an advocate for certain things, but one of them is not medications and unnecessary procedures. You know, so I try to use that information at some point to share it with my own personal experiences, and hopefully try to impact somebody just to maybe think twice before you end up making irreversible decision. So absolutely destroyed my life from that sense. And again, I don't want to, I would hate to see anybody else go through, but now talking about other YouTubers, of course, Devil Larrett, when it comes to arm wrestling, I am heavy into the arm wrestling community. If anybody is a nerd like me and you're like arm wrestling, it is now starting to if you want to catch me somewhere in live and in chats and stuff like that, it is in the arm wrestling community. And very, very much involved. I've been back into it for quite a few years now, and I would love to get back into it and actually start competing. So good luck to anybody out there, if you are, because let's just say I am a absolute phenom on the table. And it's just something I did from almost not too long after diaper stage, and I did it for years. Its popularity has gained and it has grown now to a point which is awesome to see. You're seeing, and again, I'm in a lot of the strongman type of stuff, and more physical and health related type of stuff is where my interest has changed over the years. But I could talk about that for days. I love it. I miss it. I love to see where it's going. It's actually in Chicago. If I was still in Michigan, I would be going. I will get to one of the tournaments at some point. You know, it would be an honor someday that I could actually bring some of those individuals, kind of cross over and do a collaborative thing at some point. It would be awesome to do. We got Susan in the house. How you doing, Susan? Thank you so much for popping in. Let's see here. Carlos said, Jeremy, my top fave YouTuber. you are being too kind, Carlos. Too kind. You know, chat, I'm not a Gooby, just related. Let's see here. More like fan of most YouTuber. I don't look at it like fan. Very important to look at your YouTuber in the most humanly possible. My advice. Humanely. Sorry, can't read. Yeah, absolutely, Carlos. Right on, man. I hear you for sure. I mean, at that time, it was a much smaller community, and like any other niche, especially now with social media, it's only continuing to grow. Um, and you know, I don't watch any. I haven't watched for years. Even, you know, once you started doing content, it's different once you become a content creator, if that's what you want to call it. I never looked at myself as some YouTube influencer. I was just a dweeb that was in the fish keeping, try to bring education and inspiration to the channel. And then I got to a point where I started walking in the fish shops and they recognized who I was. And it was weird to me, especially at the following that I had. And of course, I'm very appreciative of that. And I always just try to remain humble in the fact I am no different than anybody else. I'm just a dude behind a camera. And I don't have any issue. I've done plenty of talks, so I don't have any adversity when it comes to getting in front of a camera. Anybody has met me in person knows what you see here is what you get in person. And wear my heart on my sleeve. And I am looking forward to seeing kind of where things happen to progress. But I can't do it without you guys. I need you all support. Keep me accountable as well. There might be some weeks I end up missing. You'll have to bear with me, but I'm going to try to keep the momentum going each Wednesday. Just an hour. Once we actually get a momentum going, I come up with a topic ahead of time, pre-schedule it, and then we'll probably throw in here and there maybe a collaborative vid or a collaborative live, and then we'll kind of, as the concurrent viewership grows back up over time. Anybody that knows, I don't do ads. I don't do, I try to allow the organic growth to happen just in as much in a natural sense as possible. Because to me, individuals that were subscribed to this channel were truly organic viewers of the channel, meaning weren't here for whatever other reason. And I will eventually end up doing like giveaways and that kind of stuff again as well, because I miss doing that. That was fun to do. But let's just kind of see how things progress. The main thing right now is I just need to be consistent again, and that's for me. And then once we get on that momentum, the best thing that you guys can do is right now I don't get anything from any of this. It's been unmonetized since 2021 due to inactivity. Like I shared before, no, I've never had any strikes or any issues, obviously, here on the platform. Just comes down to you have to maintain so much consistency within essentially, let's say, a 12-month time frame. And just due to that, I'm not going to say I agree with it. It is what it is. I can't control that. I don't have any gripe about essentially YouTube. I mean, I could voice my opinions. It doesn't really matter. At the end of the day, it's probably one of the biggest that most of us use for entertainment value. That's where I watch other individuals and other niches and that sort of stuff. So it's still pretty much my go-to when it comes to any downtime. So yeah, the time that I establish, and of course time that I've been on here, I just want to keep that going. So let's see here. Whoa, losing some. Ooh, where are we at? Jumped on me. Step by step. Reminds me of that song. Susan says, "You are real," and that I love. Well, thank you, Susan. Appreciate it. Let's see. Accounts. Where did it go? Where did it go? Oh, this thing is jumping all over the place. Uploads or live streams. All right. Carlos says, "I got an idea." All right. I am all ears to do a Bible verse or a motivational verse at the end of each stream. Yeah, I think that's a great idea, Carlos. I mean, anybody understands, again, where my faith was and the foundation. And again, I was always transparent with that here on the channel. It may not be for everyone, and that's okay. But yeah, I think that's a great idea, Carlos. Maybe at some point I can actually get my oldest on here at some point in the future. I know that he has something going himself that probably a good opportunity to kind of expose for anybody that may be interested into something like that. But yes, for sure. Let's see. All right, let's look at any other questions from the comments. All right. Man, these go way, way back. I'm looking at a comment here. Actually, this was sent from Carlos. This was your Pelvichromis pulcher, a beautiful specimen, way back. He had shipped up to me, and I believe I also had some. Lost my train of thought. It was the blue paradise fish. Um, he had sent to me. That was an old vid, and there's just a comment on there talking about the beauty of those specimens. If you guys haven't worked with like a dwarf cichlid and you want to find one, they should be still pretty readily available. Is I would recommend getting yourself very easy to identify sexes, even at a smaller age or a smaller size. Is your Pelvichromis pulcher. I work with many different Pelvichromis species, bred many of those, and reintroduced those populations into the aquarium fish keeping hobby. Another big one was dealing with Goodeids. I work with, I want to say, was it 18 or 20? It was 21 different species of Goodeids. Goodeids was something when it came to conservation and preservation. My buddy that was on here, I haven't talked with him in quite some time, was Andy Burkowski. He did a lot with Goodeids, and he definitely was very knowledgeable. I learned quite a bit from Andy myself when I was starting to get introduced into more of those, and definitely another one to check into. So it's just cool to look back, you guys. I'm looking at a screen over here. You can't see what I'm looking at. I'm just going through, kind of reminiscing some old comments that were here on the channel. Another question on here was regarding the vinegar eel cultures. So some of those live cultures, when it comes to microworms, vinegar eels, so on and so forth, they can begin to leach essentially a smell. But I would recommend with any of those, keep them in a cool, dry place, out of the dark. It's not like when you're dealing with eggs and that sort of stuff where it's phototropic, meaning that they need light, and that's something that we can nerd out on later on, talking about certain specimens and how light cycles and phototropic type of situations is important. It's no different than like with poultry when you look at light schedules. These are just things I'm kind of brainstorming myself, you guys. If this is the only reason I'm throwing it out there and kind of just spitballing right now, is these are many different topics that I can talk about. Talk about you know, incubation of chicken eggs and poultry and all that kind of stuff. So let's see. But yeah, so there's a question on here regarding specifically with the vinegar eels. What I would recommend doing is following. I did re-release it. It should be back on the YouTube, and I'll make a note of that to double check to make sure it's still on there. That one had several thousand views as well. It was a very productive video that I'm glad got out there that really helped just kind of simplify, not reinvent the wheel, but just kind of simplify a way of culturing vinegar eels. And keep in mind, some of these old videos, you guys, that's why I was saying a little earlier on, would you guys be interested from the standpoint of me doing like an overlay and essentially reacting to some of my old content? I think it would be kind of comical. Then we can make fun of my old, you know, like I was saying a little bit ago, with individuals that apparently had an issue with. It's just my sarcasm, you guys. It's all good. But yeah. Let's see. Now, when it comes to like white worms and mica worms, I would recommend maintaining at about 60, 62 degrees. Get yourself a wine cooler. And again, this is stuff I've talked about before in the past, probably didn't elaborate too much. There's a lot of information I kept off from the interwebs due to the fact that I was finding people, you know, I had to still keep individuals guessing a little bit. Let's just say I did develop very specific methods that work very effectively. And many of those I did not share because I still needed to keep the market, starting to get a bit saturated. So I'm not going to share it's no different than sharing a special recipe that you have. You can't share all the ingredients in the recipe. And I probably still wouldn't share all the ingredients, if that makes sense, because you never know. Who knows what Jerome might have up their sleeve, some point in the future. I have no idea what it might end up transpiring if I end up getting back into it. So I'm not going to share everything. It's no different than going to like a fish farm. When I did that tour at my buddy Mike's place, Imperial Tropicals, again, not being sponsored by, paid for by. I haven't talked with Mike in quite some time, but they have a phenomenal operation. And if you guys remember that video I did way back in 2017, unfortunately, I had to do just a lot of overlay of music. The reason that was that there was just a lot of information shared in that video that just couldn't get, and I respect that wholeheartedly because it's no different than, a much smaller operation like we had going. You can't share everything. So, and I would encourage everybody, pick wisely in the information that you share, depending on what it is, what your intent is. All right. Much love, Susan. Thank you so much. I appreciate you popping in. Tell Rod that we said hello as well. I hope that you guys are doing well. We will be in touch soon. Let's see. Popped up for me on Facebook today. We have been Facebook friends for 8 years. 8 years. Say what? Maple Street Aquatics has a grain. What? What did I miss? Maple Street has the grandkids. Maybe I'm talking about somebody else. All right. Any cool species you highly curious? Any cool species? Are you talking about me, Carlos? I'm sorry, you guys. I'm using StreamYards right now. In the chat's jumping. Do reaction vids. I think it'd be funny. Why not? That's awesome. 8 years. Oh, the Paradise Fish grandkids. Okay. Yeah, or Carlos, if I'm remembering right, I believe Brandon got he did. I think he did off from this is years ago. It was at the, if I remember it was either at GVAC or Swamp auction. I think he ended up picking up a bag of some of the offspring. Beautiful specimen you guys work with. Absolutely gorgeous specimen. If you want to get into like a elaborate type of species, so like bettas and that sort of thing, I also bred many of those. But if you want one to kind of introduce, get yourself a really good bonded pair, and I'm sure that video is out there still. But I did a video showing the courtship between, and I talked about that as well. And a lot of the stuff you guys is in. I have about a 2-hour talk that really just kind of breaks all of this stuff down, but it shows images and some video clips and that sort of stuff. So it's better to understand. It's kind of hard to explain it without visually seeing it. And one of those was talking about breeding of that, because I kind of went through the entire diversification of many different families of fish. because one of the things that I am very proud of is I was just one of very small select individuals at our club, which again, I have to brag, that GVAC still is near and dear to me. You know, I haven't talked with many of them in quite some time, especially since we moved. But I was heavily involved. It was an awesome club. I'm sure it's still an awesome club. Met a lot of great people, and just a lot of great memories. Just a phenomenal group of individuals. One of the best clubs by far in the country. Hell, probably by far one of the biggest auctions. Usually running 1,200 bags at an auction. Massive swap meets. Just a very reputable club, and one to be extremely grateful and proud and honored to be a part of out of any of the clubs. And this isn't the knock on any of them. You know, I've been to various clubs in the past, but there's the way that we run it. It was a good group of individuals, and we just kept that momentum rolling. Brought in really good speakers, try to switch it up from month to month, year to year, and yeah, completely lost my train of thought. But it kind of reminded me of just a lot of the livestock, you know, that I had introduced, had the opportunity and the honor to introduce, and let's just say 3 years in a row, had no competition, but destroyed it. Breeders' Award program, 3 years in a row winner, obtained within 12-month time frame my diversification, which again, there was only, I ran that entire program. Don't quote me on this, but I believe that there was only 4 of us. Oh man, obviously I don't have that software anymore, or that information in front of me, but there was maybe only 3 or 4 of us that had actually met that diversification program. And you have to do it within 12 months. I talked about all that before. That is breeding. It's a whole criteria that you have to do. A lot of work. It was fun in the process. I destroyed it. So something by far probably the biggest accomplishment that I hold near and dear still to this day. Something to be, I wish more clubs did it, you know. But yeah, talking about Breeders' Award program, all of that stuff. Again, this is another potential topic that we can cover in an hour. I could rehash all that out for you guys. So, I mean, so many different things I could recover here to interact with you guys. Let's see. And I kept them with no heater, even in the winter tank, dropped below as 50s. Absolutely. Yep. I even kept a lot of my cichlids and so forth. I was never a fan of maintaining fish in high temps. Now, when you get in the discus and other livestock, now, again, it really comes down, again, I can't preach enough to the adaptation and conditioning. When you adapt and condition things over multiple different generations, and I prove this time and time again. People tell me, oh, you can't spawn discus unless they're in a, you know, they've got to be at a pH of 6.4, 6.5, and a low TDS, and all of this, and it's just like, you want to watch me? And that's what I love to do, is just prove people wrong. And I did it time and time again, because I just love to do it. It's just, you know, it really comes down to the fact is when you think about creating and taking nature and bringing to a home aquaria, you're never going to be able to duplicate that. That is a reality of it. Even by you digging a hole in your backyard and putting some fish in it isn't the same as where they're coming from in their natural habitats. Again, you have to realize through years of generational offspring, through adaptation, through conditioning, through multiple different methods and variations. And it was years back when I dominated, absolutely destroyed the market in a positive way with Ancistrus. When it came to hence our logo, I couldn't even keep up. I was producing so many, And that came down to a fact that I just focused and got really, really good at the one thing in conjunction with shrimp. I was actually doing both of those in the same systems and all the stuff I talked about before, and then just continued to apply that same principle from one thing to the next, to the next, to the next. And over time, you realize when you start taking F0, F1, F2, F3, and you start, and now, back then they weren't just breeding like guppies. Essentially, you just sit and forget it. You actually had to put some time into it. You had to do spawning through various means. And again, there's tips and tricks I share in my talk on that as well. How to induce and entice spawning rituals and behaviors, depending on what it is that you're working with. But yeah, I couldn't agree with Carlos more. Again, I kept and bred successfully and kept them in good health, 72, even sometimes 68 degrees. You got to realize through osmotic regulation and different changes, because if you want to be real when it comes to nature, understanding the actual temperatures of those, and again, that's how I would always play devil's advocate. I would push back and be like, do you realize like the actual temperatures for which many of these different specimens are actually coming from? And again, it's not the same. You've got to stop relating it to that. When you're talking multiple different generations, for years down the road, it's no different than us. If you take me from Alabama, in July when it's 185 degrees and 300% humidity, and throw me in Alaska, I'm probably not going to feel too good, and vice versa. Now, if you slowly start taking me and slowly condition me over a period of time, it's spoiled. If I go up into a northern climate now, even in May, I'm probably wearing a sweatshirt because you get spoiled. It's just, again, through adaptation, through condition. It's really, it's pretty simple to me. I don't know. Maybe it's just me, but yeah. Let's see here. Like, for instance, I was one of the first ones, if I remember right. I think it was I the only one? There was a couple of different specimens that nobody had ever turned in for Breeders' War Program points, which was very surprising. There was the Nanostomus beckfordi, which is a type of pencil fish. That was one that I successfully did. That definitely took a little bit more tweaking. That wasn't just sitting and forgetting it. I had to play with the water parameters. And that's where, when I discuss it in my talk, I talk about overall inducing of to entice. Okay. This is, if you guys kind of want to get a little nerdy here. Okay. When you think about hormones and you think about pheromones, okay, this is a very watered down way to look at it. Hormones being internally, pheromones externally. So when you think about the induction of pheromones being released within that water, so if you're on a big filtration system, this is one thing that I talked about many times, especially with ancestors. Okay, you're going to start enticing them to getting to their breeding rituals if it's all in one system, because it's carrying throughout the system. And then, they start their courtship and they start doing their thing. But yeah, so let's see here. Even with Australian rainbow fish, they did well after conditioning in low 50s. Yep. Again, allow fish to go through their seasonal phases, go through the natural detoxification process. And again, people oftentimes preach about let's bring nature outside in, but yet you're not even following some of the basic nature principles. And the only way to really do that is you have to dive in and start nerding out. You really got to start looking at the scientific approach. And it doesn't come by just reading things and looking at it. You have to actually get your hands wet. You know, many of us, I got to a point, I believe it or not, I could actually stick my finger in the tank and kind of weird stuff and tell you almost what the pH is. You know, it's just that's how nerdy I got with it. So let's see. Another thing. Thank you so much, Susan. Love you guys. Have a great night. Let's see here. Laugh out loud. I even spawned angels in 60-degree water during a hurricane. That doesn't surprise me, Carlos, with you. That doesn't surprise me. And Carlos and I aren't saying here, go run off and start breeding things in 50 and 60-degree weather, you guys. This is, you know, this comes down to years of experience and hands-on stuff. And again, we all start from ground zero, and you got to work your way through the process. Another thing fish keepers forget, wild caught goes through different conditioning, high mineral from monsoon rains, high organics, exactly. Stress pheromones dissipate in time, same with breeding pheromones. It's like aquarium plants would release pheromones to compete with other plants for a location. Yeah, I mean that even when you're talking about plants, you know, from a horticultural point of view, there are certain species of aquatic plants that if you introduce them with other species of aquatic plants can actually be detrimental. It can actually be counterproductive. And then and again that's again another whole other topic, but definitely it can happen. So all right, let's look at some old comments here. Let's see. All right. Another comment here. Shrimp Alabapsidae. I literally had to stop watching because it makes me dizzy. Maybe that's one that we need to go back and look at. I think it's absolutely comical, and I'm doing it in all good fun. Do not take that personal at all. I think it's absolutely hilarious. Anybody that knows me well enough, I used to make fun of myself often here on the interwebs. So let's see. Because we all know my video and audio, well, video part was, yeah. I wasn't winning any awards anytime soon, if you know what I mean. All right, let's see. Another topic, heavy plant cover is not for all fish. Some fish, like rainbow fish, need room to swim in a current, good for their health and spawning behaviors. Yep. I recommend, what I loved is obviously with rainbow fish is linear footage. And then if you put like a power head at one side, you would actually see them kind of, you know, you'll want to lower the water down. And that is definitely one that you're going to want to keep. I was always about evaporative cooling, natural process of evaporative cooling. That's why many of our systems, just the way I had it set up, it worked out perfectly to not have to cover, but based on, especially with rainbow fish, cover it. I have plenty, trust me, hop out. Even when it's covered, they can find their ways and stuff like that. But yeah, they like to jump. But yeah, it's just kind of cool to see, you know, just you know, just kind of play around with it, understand their behaviors, and have fun with it. You know, if they're enjoying it, you're going to enjoy it, and you'll know if they're stressed. You will know based on their body language if they are stressed. But I miss working and breeding rainbow fish. It was one of my favorite ones. Work with many. It was very fun, very fun. Just egg depositing type of specimens versus like live bears and stuff. I personally enjoyed more, but not that live bears weren't fun. It's just for my mind and the way it works, I just like to nerd out and take my little tweezers and put things under a microscope and in that sort of thing. So. But those, I'm looking at my tiger antler strains I had. Those by far were the most popular live bear that we sold. I miss having that strain. It was a beautiful strain that worked really hard to get really good lineage. People love those. I mean, I had such a wait list on those. You know, we're 2 hours in now. If somebody actually jump forward and listen to the end, if you have some of those from my bloodline, I would love to know. I'm just looking at a whole picture here in the comments from those, and yeah, those were a gorgeous fish. Definitely show quality. Beautiful specimen. Man, it brings back a lot of memories. All right, we're at 2 hours, you guys. I will be wrapping it up here. Let's see, any other questions? Top sign of fish stress, dual color, another we can share. Absolutely. Color, major for sure. Understand you guys too with photo, as far as like phototropic and that kind of stuff we'll discuss later on. But when it comes to photo periods in general, with lighting, is, you know, if you first turn on the lights, you know, just kind of this stuff that we can talk about later. But yeah, so just kind of ease into it again. Consistency. Now, no big drastic changes when it comes to water changes. When it comes to food, just keep it simple. Keep it simple. Stupid method. I'm telling you, it works 9 times out of 10. Can't guarantee it, but most of the time, as long as you just stay consistent with it, don't give up on it, don't overcomplicate it. You will find success with it. And we all have our losses in the hobby. It goes with any hobby. Can't beat yourself up over it. Just know you've done your research. You know what it is that you're keeping. You're not rushing into it. Just start, you know, at an appropriate level where you feel comfortable, especially if you're new into it. And there is so much out there now for you guys. Just find good, appropriate resources, and yeah. So I'm excited to start this new adventure with y'all. If you have hung in here this long, I appreciate it very much, and I'd love for you guys to comment and let me know. But I totally understand if you don't want to. If you just want to stay a lurker, I'm a lurker. I get it. But definitely drop me some comments. I would love it, so I can answer those, use those in a future video. Yeah, community post here on YouTube is the best way to be able to get information. If there's no other questions, we're going to go ahead and wrap it up. Good night, Jeremy. Awesome stream. Get a hold of me, Carlos. Great seeing you, man. Much love to you. Much love to all you guys. Again, Wednesdays. All right, Wednesdays, 8 p.m. Central Daylight Time and 9 p.m. Central Daylight Time. We're going to try to just stick to an hour, give or take. We just went a little bit longer today because we're trying to get the momentum. The first few probably are going to go a little bit longer, just to kind of get that concurrent viewership up. I would love for you guys to share it out. Let them know that, hey, Jerome's still around. Sergeant Tank is still here. We are kind of going to be shifting to a different direction, but once a month, okay? You hold me accountable to that. I'm giving you guys my word. Once a month, We'll still talk shop. We'll still talk fish. We'll spend an hour engaging. I'll have a topic ahead of time. And with that being said, you guys have a great week. Enjoy your weekend. I hope it's done raining here for a little bit because the ground is saturated. All right. We'll talk to you guys. Look out this weekend. Okay. This weekend, I will get a topic up for y'all. So we'll see you guys back here next week, Wednesday, 8 p.m. Central Daylight Time. Take it easy.